Welcome to Exhuming the Truth, the podcast where we delve into the mysterious world of cold cases, missing persons, true crime, and the fascinating science that is forensics. My name is Asha Walther, and I am so thrilled to have you here with me on this journey as we dance in the shadows of the world of crime, shining the light on scientific discovery and becoming another voice for those who need it most. So grab a coffee, a bourbon, or your drink of choice and get comfortable so we can get right into it. Well, you are listening to the very first, or should I say, the pilot episode of ETT, otherwise known as Exhuming the Truth, which is absolutely insane because this has been on the radar for me for so long. I have had so many friends and colleagues bring up podcasting to me, and I have been like, not right now, guys, I do not have time, but I thought, make the time, hey? So before we dive into the fun stuff, let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I thought we'd just get the really boring stuff out of the way, kind of like a little meet and greet, so you can sort of know a little bit about me and who you're listening to, and hopefully who you continue to listen to. So my name is Asha, and I have always been fascinated by the stories that linger in the background waiting to be uncovered. I love how mysterious that turned out. I totally didn't mean it, but I'm here for it. So you guessed it, true crime junkies, where you at? So around the house, my house where I live in Perth, Western Australia, I am just known as Mum, and I love it so very much. I am a mum to my two human sons, ages 6 and 10. I like to call them my human sons because I have various children, more children with 4 legs than 2. So my two human sons are ages 6 and 10. I love them both so very much. They are growing up way too quickly, and it's really sad, but it's also giving me a tiny bit of freedom to do things like this. So here we are. At home, we also have my 3 fur children. So my tiniest fur child is actually the oldest, Chili the Chihuahua. She is 3. Then we have Jock, or we call him Jockey. He looks a little bit like Harry McClary. If you ever read the books as a child, that's where it's at, 90s babies. He is a bit of an asshole. Sorry, language warning, but he is super cute to make up for it. And then we have my Woody, who is a Mastiff Cross Blue Heeler, an absolute angel, although my partner Cameron would definitely say otherwise. So that's who we've got at home. And then a very short trip down the road, we have my 2 horses, Charlie and Honey, who are my other fur children. So it is a big family. We love it. I wouldn't change a thing about it, but I am mum here, and nothing more, nothing less. So shout out to all the other mums that are joining us. I love that. It's most likely when you're probably doing the washing, I'm guessing, or you're having that tiny little bit of time to yourself at night. I'm also someone who lives with something called a TBI, which is a traumatic brain injury. So I will try and put this in a nutshell as much as possible so I do not bore you. But I want to be really open, and I also want to be really inclusive, and I would really love to have others join from all walks of life. So basically, I acquired a disability at the age of 18 in a workplace accident while horse riding. So that's a story for another day, but essentially one of the injuries was one to my head, and it was quite a big one. Knocked me for 6. It's been quite a challenge, and over the last 13 years, that challenge has just grown. So the TB, I don't like to sound too soppy about soppy, is that a word? I'm not sure. I don't want to sound gross about these sorts of things, but and I always like to refer to the fact that I would not have been sitting here today doing this podcast or have met all the wonderful people I've met in my journey to getting here if it wasn't for that accident happening at that time of my life. So with that experience, I actually had to change careers, which saw me going to uni as a mature age student, which wasn't all bad. It was a little bit scary at the start. I decided to do a bachelor degree in forensic biology with a major in toxicology, and then another bachelor degree in criminology with a major in crime science. So those 2 undergraduate degrees basically helped me land a lot of international roles, a lot of volunteering and internship type roles, which actually saw me become team leader and where I am today. I absolutely adore the profession I'm in. I work really quite hard to be here and to continue to sort of push new heights, I suppose, in a way, because forensic science is something that is quite oversaturated and it's quite difficult to get into. And if you are, say, well, myself as an example, a mother with a disability who needs to have flexible working arrangements, it can be really difficult. But I've found certain things to work out quite well online, and that is virtual internships. Thank you so much, COVID. That's about the only positive that came out of COVID, I suppose, and that Uber drivers now knock on the door and leave your food there and you don't have to interact with anyone. Fantastic. But as I was saying, I bloody love the work I do, and I really hope to continue this work for the rest of my life. So right now I am in the middle of my master's in forensic investigations, which I enrolled in basically to fine-tune my investigative skills. So I've done a lot of cold case work and a lot of missing persons work, and I just wanted to dive deeper into that. And while we're here, it's so important to acknowledge that in each and every case, no matter how rough they might seem, these people involved in each case that we discuss are just everyday people, and they are all loved by someone. They are often loved by multiple people. They do have a family. So it's so important to keep that family and loved ones in mind, and we will be covering quite sensitive content. I will, of course, try my absolute best to give you sufficient notice and a heads up as we're coming in to release sensitive topics, but I will put some useful links for you if you are finding some content a little bit distressing or you want some support. I'll put some notes in the podcast notes. In each episode, I hope to cover a different case. This might not always be the case. Sorry to repeat that word so much, but some cases are quite lengthy and have a lot of detail that we might need to go through. So that might go over a couple of episodes. You never know. We'll see how we go. I will do my best. But I basically really want to discuss the forensic technologies. Cold cases are great for this because some cold cases date back quite far. And there has been so much new and emerging forensic science come up in that time frame that we can discuss that might be applicable to these cases that have not yet been tried. So that's something that I really love about forensics. So in each episode, we're going to do something called an ETT crime line. So this is Exhuming the Truth crime line. It's literally just a timeline of events. I like to call it a crime line because it's cooler, and why not? This is like one place I can explore my silliness and use all the puns I like. So it's going to be a wild ride for anyone who actually sticks around. But this will be a detailed overview of the case. This also includes the lead up to the case. So it's not just this person got shot and this is the time. It's the lead up. What were they doing? What were their movements beforehand? What were their behaviors? What's their normal routine like? So things like that are also going to be involved on the crime line because that's also really important when analysing a crime itself. Then I want to examine the evidence available. So not all evidence will be available. I will do my best to get my hands on as much as I can. But if we can't get all of it, we can sort of discuss that as we go, and we can discuss the investigative efforts made over the years, or if it's a current case, maybe we can give some suggestions. And that just leads into forensic advances. So that's an insight into how advancements in forensic science, like I was saying earlier, from like DNA analysis to digital forensics, which is a huge one right now, are creating new opportunities to solve these cases. Then I want to add a really cool component to this podcast, having interviews and insight with either experts in the field, students in the field, victims' families. There's so many perspectives we can look at. Talking to detectives, forensic scientists, other than myself, obviously, because it would be nice to sit down and have a chat instead of chatting with myself. Even family members of the victims, just to gain a deeper understanding of each case. And there's so many questions that can be asked. And to finish each episode, I wanted to add an element of fun since it's all a bit dark, which we love, don't get me wrong, but I like to add a little bit of fun too, especially dark humour. So I want to add my segment called Forensic Fails. So this will be cases or situations where forensic science went hilariously wrong or methods were wildly misapplied or misinterpreted, just to keep things a little bit lighthearted. As they say, I don't know who they are, but they're right in this sense. that the truth is stranger than fiction, and you better believe it, because as we embark on this journey together, I encourage you to share your thoughts and your theories, and trust me, no theory is too wild. One of my most valuable lessons in working internationally was working with people of different ethnicities and experiences. For example, I've worked with psychology students, drone experts, underwater drone experts, dive experts, and like everyone came in from a different angle, and it was awesome. It really broadened the horizons and helped us all come up with a bigger picture. It's all about perspective, and yes, I do have that tattooed on my chest. Your individual insights might help provide a missing piece in a complex puzzle, or otherwise it will help open the discussion and even get things moving, get people talking. And that's one of the biggest goals of this podcast. I want the conversation to keep going. I don't want missing persons to be left missing for the rest of their life. I want these families to have closure, and I want people to know that they will be caught. Forensic science is going to continue to advance whether people like it or not. Science is the truth. The truth will be found. So I will also pop a link to a Facebook group where we can have open chats. I'll be manning that every day. Although I do have ADHD, so sometimes I tend to avoid things. But if it's fun, like this, I'll definitely be there. So if you've got any questions, that's the place to go. Also, keep an eye out on our Instagram, because I will also likely post about that group on there. So as I like to call this episode the pilot instead of episode 1, because it's basically just an introduction. It's not really a discussion around crime. I just wanted a little bit of a get to know you sort of situation. So in our next episode, what I like to call episode 1, and boy, are we starting with a bang. In our very first episode, we're going to dive into a case. It is a Perth case of a mass murderer, Anthony Harvey. This is a crime, you guys, that is so horrific that a historic sentence was granted. So this means that this gentleman got a sentence that no one else has gotten before. We're going to do a little bit of victimology on each of the victims. So that's just a little bit about them. We're going to do a criminal profile of Anthony Harvey. I will talk you through what is involved in criminal profiling, and we can do a little bit around that. We're going to do our ETT crime line of events, and then open up the discussion of forensics and theories, and any updates in the case, because this is a relatively new case. It is not a cold case, but it is a massive one, and I promise it's going to be huge. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you listened to the whole pilot. I know it wasn't a proper episode, but I really, really appreciate the support. This is the first step, is what I like to say, the first step of our exploration together. I hope you can learn a little bit from this. I hope you join in on the discussions. Together we can shine a light on the shadows of the past and bring the echoes of these unsolved mysteries to the forefront. That is my hope. That is my dream. So let's keep seeking the truth. Stay curious, stay informed, and until next time, trust your instincts and keep seeking the truth. I'm Asha Walther. This is Exhuming the Truth, and I will see you next time.